Hello, today is November 14th, 2020. My name is Andres Martinez. I'm interviewing Allyson Olguin for the University Library Special Collections and Archives at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, hereafter abbreviated as UTRGV. This project is in sponsorship with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Ms. Holguin, that this interview will be placed in the University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. The University Library Special Collections and Archives will archive your interview along with any other photographs or other documentation we are willing to share. UTRGV University Library will retain copyright or non-exclusive right to the interview and any other materials you donate to special collections and archives at UTRGV. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting to make sure you agree with our interview procedures before we continue. So I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each question. Number one, do you give University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV consent to archive your interview and your materials at the UTRGV University Library?
Yes, I agree.
Do you grant UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives right, title, and interest in copyright over the interview and any materials you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Do you agree to follow UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
You grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for the inclusion in the Voices of a Pandemic Oral History mini project, which will include posting the interview on the internet.
Yes, I agree.
As you recall, um,
Oh,
I'm
just
so
letting you
sorry.
know my dogs are acting up. Sorry.
Yes, that's all right. Okay. Number five is, do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archive?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, and last is, on occasion, UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and Voces receive requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subject. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone numbers or email with journalists?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you for your consent. Your experiences and stories mean a lot to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives. I look forward to what you say in the interview questions I will now ask. Um, okay, so now that that's you know, over and done with, I want to say first and foremost, thank you, Allyson, for your time. Like I said earlier, your stories and experiences are valuable to the people at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and the Voces Project. As a student and a substitute teacher, I personally think that you have a unique perspective on how this pandemic has affected you, your classmates, your students, and teachers all over the country. And I think your story is valuable, and I think it's important to share it. So before we begin the interview, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit. Who is Allyson Olguin? What do you do, and what are you studying?
Well, hello. My name is Allyson Olguin. I am currently a senior at UTRGV and I'm studying English education. So what that means is I'm an English major, but I'm seeking my teacher certification, which thankfully I already passed my certification exam. So it's just getting to that finish line.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's about it,
Congratulations.
really.
I think that's an impressive accomplishment. I've no doubt that you're going to be a great teacher.
Thanks.
So to begin, I guess the first question I want to ask you is, when did you first hear about COVID-19 and how did you learn about it?
I want to say it was through social media. You know how they were talking about China and you know how they had their breakout and whatnot. And so I was like, oh man, like what if it comes over here? And then I started hearing from a friend that her partner is a nurse. He was saying that there were patients already with COVID. And I remember I was at Walmart. Well, we were at Walmart, right? Because he's my fiance. um, we were at Walmart and we just saw a bunch of ladies. Well, there was these two women and they had a car and they had like 6 packs of those 24 water bottles. And I was like, what do you need so much water for? But then I started hearing like people were doing that so that they could sell them online for like, for more expensive. And it was just, that was grimy for me to hear. But yeah, that's how I heard about COVID. It's pretty scary.
Interesting. What was your first reaction to the information about COVID-19?
Not gonna lie, I was like, you know what? This mass media, the social media, they just, how do I say it? They hyperbolize everything. They exaggerate so much. And I was like, they're just doing to scare us, la la. Yeah, no, it was just a pandemic, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, it was very serious. It's me being sarcastic. I'm
Absolutely.
very sarcastic.
Okay, and at what point did you realize that this pandemic was a serious life-altering event, or do you not think it's serious? And if so, why?
No, it's very serious for sure. I think when it finally set in, it was when they made it required for us to wear masks everywhere. And I was like, what? Masks? Like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I have always worn a mask. Just saying, I'm not one of those like, you shouldn't wear a mask. Like, no, yeah, wear a mask. What's wrong with you? Of course, you need to wear a mask.
Awesome, great answer. Now over the last few months, what news media, social media, or other sources do you rely on to keep you informed about coronavirus?
Facebook for sure. Never. I mean, not that it never fails, right? Because you can see whatever on the internet. The news for sure. My parents are always watching the news, and that's all you hear: COVID-19, coronavirus, and the rates, and blah blah. So yeah, that's how I keep myself informed, I guess.
Can you share with me what you understand about COVID-19 as an infectious disease?
Well, I'm no doctor, right? Like, I'm not pre-med or anything, but I know it's a virus and it can affect your lungs if you're not, at a certain like an age, I guess. Like, if you're healthy, you should be able to combat it successfully. Um, but if you're not, then it can affect you very grotesquely, I guess. And I know that I know quite a handful of people that have gotten it. Thankfully, they survived, but I know about the hospitals and the rooms and how everyone's hooked up to those ventilators, and it's a sad time right now.
My next question would be, would you take the first COVID-19 vaccine available on the market? Why or why not?
Um, it's a good question. I want to say yes, like 100% yes, but I'm not gonna lie to you either. I don't know. I don't know, and I can't tell you yes or no. If it's required, like, as for me as a teacher, like when I start teaching, by all means, I'm not gonna like give up a career because of a vaccine. But I don't know. It's a little iffy for me right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
All right, thank you for that. Do you do you do your family hold the same beliefs as you about COVID-19, or are there members who take it more seriously or lightly?
Uh, my family is actually pretty scared of it, and I'm not saying it because like they're old or whatever. Like my aunts for sure, they are up there. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, but so they know that they can be affected by it, and a lot more severely. And so they haven't been out since quarantine. Like since quarantine began, everything they do at home, which I think I do for the most part as well. But they do curbside for everything. They don't want anyone, not even their like sons or daughters going there, and they're, their sons are like already married and whatnot. So they don't really want anyone going to their house, like none of that. However, on the other side of the spectrum, I do have a brother and his girlfriend, and they go to the island like almost every weekend when he is here, and he likes to party, man. What can I say? But and I do tell him, but there's just no getting through to him. So that's fine. I mean, but hopefully he's fine and his girlfriend are fine.
Okay, okay, thank you. Um, the next couple of questions are going to be a little bit more directed towards your family. I noticed you mentioned you have family that teaches, you have a brother, you have aunts who take it very seriously. So my next question would be, upon hearing the news of COVID-19 being in Brownsville, did you and your family quarantine?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, Sometimes I'll stay with my parents, and sometimes I'll stay with my fiance. But for the most part, I quarantined with my fiance. Don't get me wrong, I checked up on my parents every day. I called them like, "Do y'all need anything?" Remember when there was a shortage of toilet paper, of
Absolutely.
eggs, like all that stuff, dairy, and they were just like, "Well, we're kind of running out of eggs and napkins." And thankfully, my fiance, he works at Walmart, and he was like, "You know what? I can help you out here." But I don't know if I can say that. But yeah, thankfully, and I would go take some water bottles to my parents. But for the most part, I did quarantine. The only thing I went out for was essentials.
Right, right. And that's a great, great thing that you did that, as you know, it's a very serious occasion. I noticed you mentioned you have an older brother who doesn't live with you, and he
Yeah,
unfortunately, through our pre-interview, you did let me know that he caught COVID-19.
my brother.
So yes.
Okay, I don't
So
know. I don't think he caught it.
oh, he didn't.
Yeah, no, he goes to not just right, but he goes to the island almost every weekend to party and like listen to music with like the crowds of people.
Okay, my apologies. My
No, you're
question
fine.
is, what would be your initial thoughts and feelings should anybody in your family catch COVID-19?
Mm, well, there was actually a time, which was like maybe 3 months ago, when my parents, they texted me and they're like, just letting you know, we have I almost let a word slip, sorry. We have headaches, migraines. Um, they were showing a good significant amount of symptoms that coincides with COVID-19 symptoms.
Okay.
And they were like, we don't want you to catch it or anything. So they probably did have it. And at that point, there was testing going on, don't get me wrong, but there was a limit, there was a shortage of those testing kits. I know that the government was trying to like pump them out and like trying to bring us some like crazy, but just everyone was testing at that time.
Right.
Their symptoms did last like 3 days, and after that, it was gone, which was odd because they say it lasts like 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah, they're fine, thankfully. But I don't know if it was that, or I would feel really, really sad and scared for them because my parents are up there also. So yeah.
Right. Thank you. Of course, it's natural to feel fear, especially for your parents. Um, Now, the next question is specifically geared towards your mother. I know that she's a teacher, so can you tell me what it is that she teaches?
She is a life skills teacher in the elementary level. So what she does is she'll teach them the alphabet, and mind you, these students, they're like from 4 to 8 years old, and she teaches them the alphabet. She tries to teach them how to read, the months of the year, things like that we need to be learning at the elementary level.
Okay, awesome. That sounds great. Um,
Yeah.
and so my next question regarding that is how has her life and her career changed now that remote learning seems to have taken over due to the pandemic?
She actually did cry to me the first month that everything switched to virtual because you know how we didn't come back from spring break.
Absolutely.
So he was like, they want me to have a whole, I keep catching myself, okay? I'm not cussing. um, they want us to have a whole classroom digitally. Like, how does that work? Like, what is Google Classroom? And I was like, look, mom, okay, you don't gotta be crying, bro. Like, chill out. I'm gonna help you. I'll help you set up Zoom meetings. There's Google Classroom. I got you. And I actually set up some slides for her that she would go over with her students. So thankfully, my mom had me. Okay. But I do know that she has friends that, yeah, they have, you know, daughters and sons and whatever, but they're probably like not here in Brownsville and they can't really help them. So I know teachers struggled a lot. My mom struggled a lot, but like I said, thankfully, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but yeah, I was thankfully there to help her.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a blessing in disguise, or not even in disguise. I'm sure it's a huge advantage she might have had.
Yeah.
So we've asked about your mom and her career, and so now I know you're a student and you were a substitute teacher up until a certain point. So my next couple of questions are going to be geared towards you, and your scholastic and your professional effects and things of that nature. So with that being said, it may come off as a little bit forward, but I know that you lost your job during the pandemic. Do you
Oh
mind
my
sharing your
gosh.
feelings?
Yes.
Sorry, do you mind sharing your feelings about that? How'd you cope with it? Because I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant event. And like I said, if you don't want to answer the question, you can always feel free to say no, and we can move on from that.
Yeah, let's move on from that. No, I'm joking. Um, dude, it sucked, okay? Because I had just started, well, you know, I was substitute teaching, yeah. Um, since like January. So it was only a couple months that I had been substituting. But when I remember I was substituting at an elementary school, and the other substitutes were like, hey, you know, we're probably not going to come back. Like, this is probably our last job, you know, our last job assignment for, you know, until whenever, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, yeah, here they're going to extend spring break. And I was like, what? And honestly, I was like, these people, like administration is just being lazy. Okay. They just don't want to come back to work. And then I was like, yeah, yeah, I was totally wrong about that. Okay. Just result in like millions of
It
people.
happened. Yes, it's been a
Yeah. So
a turbulent couple of months.
for sure. And so it really did suck. And oh my gosh, I don't want to sound bratty, right? But like I had just made a very big life decision and that I wanted to move out and get an apartment, you know, with my fiance. And so I was working towards that. And when I tell you I was working all the days I could, even like being a student, a full-time student on the side, I was going every time I had a day off from school. And to hear that, I was like, oh my goodness, this sucks. Like, you know, and but yeah, that's the word I could say. It just sucked. This whole pandemic is it's really tragic.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I know it definitely has affected a lot of people. So my next question is, I know that you're a student.
Yes.
So with that being said, when did you realize that COVID-19 was going to change the way that, we went to school?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, 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 absolutely. So when did you realize that COVID-19 was going to change the way that you went to school and that everybody went to school?
um, I think it's when they told us I was taking a course. Well, I mean, obviously, I was taking like multiple courses, but there's this one course in specific with Dr. Noe. He's awesome, by the way. He's the whatever. He's just awesome. And he said, you know what, guys, I don't think we're gonna come back for this semester. So finish all your assignments. He's all like, what are you talking about? Like, I enjoyed Dr. Noe's class so much because we had so many insightful discussions and conversations. And to say that we weren't going to come back, I was like, I'm totally missing out. Like this professor is awesome, and I've heard like raving reviews. And to know we weren't gonna come back and everything was gonna be digital, I was like, what? What is this madness? But yeah, that's when I knew when Dr. Noe he told us that.
Okay. Um, now my might be a little bit obvious now, but did you like the change? Why or why not? In terms of, going digital.
Is this strictly for from me being a student or from also student teaching?
There's going to be future questions about the student teaching. So if you
Oh,
want
okay.
just for you as a student.
As a student, I mean, let's get real. Students, if you give them leeway, their time management might not be up to par, you know? So like I lagged a little bit. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of students they took their education very lax, but I think it was okay. Lectures were still uploaded, so I don't think I missed out on that. I've taken online classes before, and I love them because, like Dr. Schneider, Dr. McDonough, they gave lectures online awesomely. But I guess when you have that connection of like talking face to face with your professor, like Dr. Noe, I was like, it's not the same, you know.
I understand. Yeah, it definitely is not the same. Um, can you tell me about how you adapted with going from in-person school to all online? Was it difficult for you? Did you manage it well?
It wasn't difficult at all, actually. Like I said, I've taken online classes before and I love online classes. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I love online classes. When I know I don't like being taken off guard, right? And that's what this whole pandemic was. It caught me off guard like completely. So if I'm expecting an online class, I know what I'm in store for. I know I'm going to be listening to lectures. I'm going to be taking down notes, annotating on the side, stuff like that. But if I have that, oh, there goes my dog again. If I have that, how do I say it? Like if I know I'm going to be going face to face, I'm expecting to get insightful discussions. And so, but I mean, it wasn't hard. You know, we can all log on. Well, hopefully, I can log on. So yeah, it wasn't hard for me. It was okay.
Okay. Talk to me about student teaching. I know this was drastically changed.
I
Tell
know.
me, what is the biggest change you have had to deal with in your clinical teaching so far?
Well, I just feel like this whole interview is gonna make me sound super bratty. Oh my
No,
goodness.
no, not at all. Feel free to express yourself. That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what
I heard. Well, I've heard from multiple former student teachers. Now they've graduated. They're like, oh my gosh, like student teacher was so awesome, and like the kids they love you, and then you love them, you grow attached, and like they just had great experiences, and even with their mentor teachers. And then so I was like, well, I mean, I'm probably still gonna get that. Which don't get me wrong, I did, but I'll get into that later. But I don't know, like I really wanted the experience of student teaching to be on campus. But then UTRGV rightfully so said no, 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 you're not going to step on campus. We don't want our students stepping on campus at all, so that's fine. As far as student teaching, I've been able to do my lessons pretty bombly, so I'm going to say I've done some bomb lessons, okay? But and as far as the connection, of course, some of them don't want to turn on their cameras, so you don't really, I personally haven't seen like the faces of like 20 kids, so. But the students, when they found out I was going to be in charge, because my mentor teacher, she was on leave for like a week, and they found out I was going to take over, they're like, oh my god, yes, Ms. Olguin, awesome. So I do have that connection. I can't lie and be like it's not the same, blah blah. I love the students. I've grown attached to them, and my mentor teacher as well.
awesome. That sounds great. Now I know it changed a lot. Can you tell me what the biggest struggle you found yourself having was when having to deal with the semester's way of student teaching, that is the online um exclusive?
Dude, the internet connections. I remember I was there. This was one of the days I was just like observing, and out of nowhere, my connection at home, it just cut off completely, and I was like, what the heck? and then you see, obviously you don't lose connection when like you're on campus face to face. So I was like, this is why this is trash, you know, like I don't want to be losing connection. Like and when I hear lessons, when Ms. V, that's my mentor teacher's name, Ms. V, when she's giving lessons, I'm also learning, like, and the way she engages and that type of stuff. I love it. The teacher moves, awesome. So I just felt like I was missing out. Like, what the heck? So I had to go somewhere else and find a stable connection.
Yeah, definitely. Internet can be iffy sometimes. I know, especially if you know if you don't live within certain areas, it can get difficult. Um, so how similar or different is student teaching from being there in person to what you were to when you were doing field hours? Because I know that before student teaching, you did a couple of, I think it was 30 observation hours. So you did have a small taste of that experience. So how different was being in campus to, what you're doing now?
Well, I think the field hours, I was more not passive, but I was just more like as the background. I had like the back. I was in the background, right?
Right.
I wasn't really teaching. And when I was gonna start a lesson, which was like, yeah, I was gonna start a lesson in a week or two. And that's when I didn't go back. No one went back because of COVID. So I never really got a good taste. Excuse me, my water's coming up. I never got a good taste of really teaching on campus. So I love student teaching. Even though it's virtual, I I'm not gonna complain. That would be really ungrateful to say. I'm really thankful for the way things have turned out. And for me, I know a lot of people have suffered, but I think as student teaching goes, I've been good.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Um, so, with all the things mentioned, what is the thing that COVID-19 impacted the most for you, whether it be your job or your scholastic life?
Mm, I think my school, like, I say like a lot, love it. uh, for school, I've been pretty great. Like I said, I'm about to graduate, so I'm taking no chances here. Okay, I don't want to be here another semester. I don't want to be here another semester. Okay, I'm just trying to get out. But so going to grad school, um, I think the way they just impacted me the most was my job. I love I loved it. I loved being a substitute teacher. Yeah, and I get it, like everyone's okay, there's a sub, you don't gotta do crap, right? But I guess because of the rapport I can build with the kids, and I guess it has to do with my age a little bit too, where I can like keep up with the trends and whatnot. It was just fun. I loved substitute teaching, but the fact that we couldn't go back, it's the most trash feeling I ever heard.
Okay. My next question, I guess, would be, in the era of COVID-19, is there something that you have learned from digital teaching that you can take with you when, COVID eventually wears off and students start to return to the classrooms? In other words, is there something that you've learned from digital, clinical teaching that you can take with you to your future classrooms in person?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know Ms. V, like I said, my mentor teacher, she said that once the students go back, if they go back, I think either the following like couple weeks or next semester, whichever, she's gonna keep digital. She's gonna keep her platform completely digital. Like, yeah, they'll be in the class, but they're gonna be turning in their work like online. So I'm thinking, like, that's not a bad idea. She's trying to avoid all these like contacts, because if she has to grade papers, she's gonna have to grade like what, 100 plus. But this way she can just grade them virtually, and I think I would do that too, because don't get me wrong, when I grade, I'm down. Okay, I'm down to like circle here and like annotate and tell them like this is what you need to be doing instead of the way you did it here. Maybe there's a comma splice, whatever. But I think I would keep things digital for a while until maybe a vaccine. Yeah.
Okay, and do you prefer teaching in person? And in addition to that question, do you think that there is a viable way to do a completely remote classroom? Why or why not?
Do I prefer teaching in the class? Yes, for sure, for sure. I remember when I was a Comp 1 tutor, I would tutor Composition 1 at the university. And, I when they would come to my office hours, they'd be like, ma'am, I have no idea what's going on. Our professor is not being clear. And so I was like, hey, like, don't worry. And then when I get into my zone, I'm like, dancing around because like I want to make sure they understand everything. And I'm like, I get into my characters, right?
Right,
And you can totally do that digitally, but like I don't know, when I see myself, because I can see myself, right? On the camera online, I see myself and I'm like, dude, you're psycho. Like you're dead ass psycho, There's a slip, I'm sorry. But yeah, I do prefer in class, but I can do the same thing online. I don't care if I look psycho. And as far as there being a viable way to be completely remote, like digital, yes, for sure. For sure. Um,
awesome. Great answer. Like I said, so I think that's gonna cover your aspects professionally, and academically. So we're nearing towards the finish line here. I'm gonna ask you a couple of final questions. And like I said, if you feel like answering, that's great, and if you don't, you can always decline. Um, are you satisfied with local response to COVID-19 in Cameron County?
um,
Which is, by the way, before you answer, I'm so sorry, which is in
yeah.
Brownsville, Texas, where we're conducting the interview.
Oh, um, I mean, what can I say? I remember they implemented a curfew, right? I don't know if that was locally or the governor did that. I don't know, but there was a curfew, right? That happened. And they're like, well, you can't go out from 11. I think at first it was like 10, 11 to 5 a.m., something like that.
Yes, it was local.
Okay, local. Okay. And so that's great. And I'm probably going to bite myself right now, but you would see people like on the highway or like just like in general, like on the streets driving around like 12. And now you're gonna be like, well, what were you doing, But no, I would just, I guess, hear from that. I'm not gonna lie, I was also doing that, but that's because I was on my way home. Okay, I had taken a nap at my parents' house, and then I was gonna go to my fiance's house. Just letting you know, I wasn't out there partying. Um, but yeah, I never saw police kind of like implementing the curfew, or like I didn't see anyone being stopped necessarily. I don't know if they were supposed to, but if they were supposed to, yeah, no, they weren't doing
So
that.
you don't
And
think it was enforced? Well,
yeah, I don't think it was enforced in the least. Mm.
okay, great. So the next question would be: are you satisfied with the state response to COVID-19 led by Governor Abbott?
Um, I can't really answer that, and not because like I have like this warping like crazy opinion, because I really don't have an opinion. I don't think I don't have one, merely because I'm not too sure what he's enforced. I don't know if you want to enlighten me, and then I can like answer if that's been enforced or not. But
Oh, it's perfectly fine. We can just move on from the question.
okay.
The next one would be: are you satisfied with the response to COVID-19 led by President Trump and his administration?
Um, I don't I don't ever want to be rude in politics ever. It's not me. I know a lot of people. Everyone's on a different spectrum, Either
Right.
this way or this way. I'm never rude, so whatever. I think President Trump tried to do the best he could, but then you saw him not really wearing a mask around, and I don't know. It kind of left a sour taste in my mouth when that there's millions of people contracting this virus, and so for you to kind of belittle it. I don't know. I think it's
Do you think that he failed to lead by example?
there you go. Perfect. Yes.
Okay. If you had the power to respond to COVID-19, what would you do differently, if anything at all?
um I think I would have the same guidelines, the same rules, 6 feet away, wear a mask until, there's some kind of cure or something. Um, but what I would do differently, I guess, is just enforce it a lot more. I don't think there was enough enforcement. And that sounds super like scary saying because it sounds kind of dystopian. Okay, I'm going to my English way and my English nerd self. But no, it just, I think it should be enforced more, those guidelines.
Okay, great. And as you know, this is a special year in our national democracy. It was a presidential voting year now. At the date of
Yes.
conducting the interview, it's already happened. Did you vote? And if so, did you notice or do anything different because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay. Um,
And feel free to, pass if you feel uncomfortable.
no, yeah, it's fine. Okay, what was the question after the voting one? I'm sorry.
Sure. It's all one question. So, did you vote? And if so, did you notice or do anything different because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I did vote and I didn't do anything differently. I think I've always taken it pretty seriously. I don't I don't know if an election was supposed to make people take it more or less seriously, but still there. The pandemic's still here. So yeah.
Awesome. And that's actually going to conclude the interview. That was the last question. First and foremost, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. I've loved the energy you've put forth. I think this is going to make for a fruitful interview, and I think you've done the university and you've obviously done me a great favor. So I want to say thank you again, and have a nice day, and
You
thank you for
too.
your time.